So how we write? Basically this instruction which we have, this is the pre-index. So this is nothing but pre-index. Why we call it as a pre-index? Because before loading it has calculated the base address and then it is loading the into the register. So this is the pre-index instruction. Now post-index. So in the post-index we have the instruction like this: LDR R0 comma R1 comma hatch 04H. So what is exactly happening in the post index here is, now again taking the same example, we have R1 as 0x2000. So first the data in the R1, okay, so since it is in square bracket, this 2000 now becomes the memory address. So whatever is the data from this memory address is loaded in R0, and then R1 will be added with this is immediate value 04, and this is nothing but calculating the next memory address from where you want to get the data. For example, if this is the memory, the first location, if we take it as 0x2000, so suppose I have a data as 10. So what is happening in a post index here is, R1 is 2000, from this memory location, that is 2000 memory location, the data is 10. This data will be loaded in register R0. So now the value in R0 register is 10. So once this has been done, later on it calculates the address here. So what it does here is, it adds R1 with the immediate value 04. So you will be getting the base address here as 0x2004. So now you will be having the base address as 0x2004. So maybe I will be having some value as 20. So when you are executing this instruction again, now the address in R1 will be 0x2004. So from this memory address, you will be loading the data 20 into the register R0. So now the R0 value becomes here as 20. So this is what we have as a post index addressing. So what is happening in a pre-index? In a pre-index, first it calculates the base address. So suppose base address 2000 plus 04, it is 2004. So which is our memory location? This is the memory location, and what is the data here? It is 20. So this data 20 will be loaded in R0 register. So first calculate the address, then load the data into it. In the post index, first whatever is the value or address, that data will be loaded at R0, and then it calculates the base address. So this is regarding the pre-index and the post-index of addressing mode. So next we'll go with, there is one more addressing mode. So this addressing mode is very important when you are dealing with the arrays. Since the array data is in sequence, so we need to go on taking one by one the data from the memory. So we can use the base index addressing for that. So the next addressing is base index with base with scaled index. Base with scaled index. So we are gonna use here the shift operations. So we are using the left shift operators for shifting the index here. So we write it as LDR R0 comma R1 comma LSL R0 comma R1 comma R2 comma LSL hatch 2. So this is how we write for base with scale index. So how exactly this instruction is working here is, so same, this part is gonna find the base address from which we want to load the data into register R0. So this LSL stands for logical. LSL is nothing but logical shift left. Logical shift left operator, and this is gonna shift the value of R2 by 2 bits. So since it is hatch 2, this is the value what we are given. So you're gonna shift the value of R2 by 2 positions at the left. So once you do this, so how exactly this instruction is working is, so in R0 you'll be having the data from, you have R1 plus, here you'll be having R2 into 2 raised to 2. So this is gonna give you the base address. This is gonna give you the base address here. Okay, so you're gonna add R1 with R2. So logical shift left basically is nothing but you're multiplying it. So it gives you the multiplication operation. So you're gonna have R2 into 2 raised to 2. So by 2, if you shift by left, that means you're multiplying it by 2 raised to 2. So this is regarding the logical shift left operation. Similarly, if you go with logical shift right operation, in logical shift right operation, you will be dividing the value by 2 raised to 2, whatever may be. Now in this case it is hatch 2, so it is 2 raised to 2. So if you take LSR, that is a left shift, logical shift right operation, it is nothing but actually dividing the value by 2 raised to 2. So if you take left shift operation, this is nothing but multiplying it by 2 raised to 2. So this will give you the base address of from where you want to take the data. So all the base with scale and base addressing basically are used when you are using arrays. So if you have some 10 numbers or 100 numbers in a program and you want to go on taking one by one the data, you need to go on pointing to those memory where the data is been stored and get it into the register or load it into a register called R0. So this is regarding the base with scale index. Again in this we have pre-index and post-index. So pre-index, now whatever I have written, this is a pre-index. Now we see this is the pre-index part. So pre-index is nothing but first calculate the base address, and once you calculate the base address, from that memory address we'll be loading the data in the register. Now coming to the post-index here. Coming to the post-index. So for post-index, we'll be writing it as LDR R0, R1, R2, LSL, hatch 2. So this is the post-index addressing what we have. So what is happening here? First, in R1 you have a value. So since it is in a square bracket, this gives you the memory address. From this memory address, whatever is the data will be loaded in register R0, and then you're gonna find the next address of the base address. So suppose like in previous example we have taken R1 as 0x2000. If you take it as this, R2 has some value maybe 2, or suppose if you take it as 0x02, and then you're left shifting it by 2 positions. So it is as good as you're multiplying this value by 2 raised to 2. So 2 raised to 2 is 4. 4 into this value becomes 0x08. So you will be adding this 0x08 to the value of R1. So this is nothing but what you get is 0x2000 plus 0x08. which gives you the effective address as 0x2008. Now the base address or the effective address is 2008, and that is nothing but it is there in R1. So there is one indication what we give it is a this sign. This sign indicates it is a write back. So what do you mean by write back here is, when I calculate the base address, I need to update it in the register R1. If you don't mention this write back, your R1 value will always remain as 2000. Whenever you go on executing, R1 is always 2000. The new value will not be updated in R1. So if you want to get it updated, you need to give this symbol which indicates it is a write back, or it will update the value in the R1 register. So once we have done this, now the value 0x2008 will be updated in R1 register. Now the value in R1 is now 0x2008. Now once again, if you go on executing it, since it is a post index, it goes to this memory address. The data from this memory address goes loaded into the register, and then again you will be calculating the effective address. So this is regarding the base with scale index addressing. So this completes the addressing mode. This is only for your reference to understand how we have the addressing modes. Now coming back to the instructions. So we have completed the data transfer instruction, that is we have seen some of the new instructions. We have seen the load store instructions. Now in the load store instruction, we have again as multiple load store instruction. So we have multiple load store instructions. So what do you mean by multiple load store instruction is, so in one instruction you can have multiple loading of data or storing of the data. So we have the instruction as LDM. LDM is nothing but load multiple registers. Load multiple registers. Similarly, we have SDM. SDM stands for store multiple registers. So these are the two instructions what we have, LDM for load multiple and STM, not SDM, STM for store multiple registers. So when we are storing or we are loading a multiple registers, we have different suffix given to these instructions. So what are the different suffix what we have is, so based on whether you want to increment the memory or one by one you want to store the registers in the memory, how you want to do it, either you want to go in an incrementing order or you want to go to a decrementing order. So we have different suffix given to this instruction. So I'll just mention the suffix and the meaning of that. So the first suffix what we have is IA. IA stands for increment after. This is nothing but increment after. Then we have IB. IB stands for increment before. IB stands for increment before. Then we have DA. DA stands for decrement after, and we have DB, which is decrement before. Decrement before. So these are the suffix which we are going to use with this instruction, that is LDM and STM. So how exactly these instructions work? So let us take an example of LDM. So if I write it as LDM R0, comma, R1 comma R2 comma R3. Or I can also write this instruction as LDM R0 comma R1 hyphen R3. So you can write the instruction in both the ways. Either you write it as LDM R0 comma in flower bracket R1 comma R2 comma R3, or you can also write it as LDM R0 comma in flower bracket R1 hyphen R3. So both the ways you can write the multiple load instructions. So how exactly this instruction is working? For this I'll just take a simple example. So I'll just draw a memory. So I'll just mention the address and the data which is available in that memory. So suppose if I start with the memory location, something like this. Since memory field is of 32 bits, so you will be having 4. After 10 you'll be having 14, 18, 1C, and you'll be having 020, and then you'll be having 024. So these are the memory locations, and then if you these are the maybe some data available in this address. So let us assume R1 I have some value as 10, R2 I have some value as 20, and R3 I have some value as 30. So now what exactly this load instruction does it? This load instruction loads the data from R1, R2, R3 in the memory address pointed by the register R0. So in case now your R0 is pointing to this memory address, the first memory address, which is 0x010. So R0 is pointing to the address. Now what we'll do is, one by one, the values or the data from this registers have to be stored in this memory address. So the first data which we have is R1 is 10. So first R0 is pointing here. You'll be storing the data here as 10. After you have stored the data in this memory location, there is a auto incrementation of the R0. Now R0 will be pointing to this. So when I just write LDM without any suffix, it is by default increment after. It is by default increment after. So what do you mean by increment after? First load the data and then increment the pointer. This is the increment after part. So now what I'll be doing, first I'll be loading the data here, and then I'll be incrementing the pointer. The pointer is now incremented and it is now pointed to 014. Now what is the next register which we need to load? Store the data from here, that is 20. So 20 will be stored in this memory location. So again the incremented, now the pointer is to 0x018. In this memory location you will be loading the data as 30. So this is the way you will be working with the multiple load instruction, and by default this instruction works as a increment after. So you can use either LDM or you can also mention it as IA here. In LDM and in LDM IA means the same and the working is the same. Now the pointer is incremented here. So what should be the value in R0? What should be the value in R0? It is incrementing. The R0 is having new value, but R0 is never updated. R0 always remains at the initial position, which is 0x010. So at the end, when you have loaded all the values, R0 still remains at the value as 0x010. So R0 will never be updated. So suppose in case you want to update R0, so you need to give this symbol, which is a write back symbol. So if you give this write back symbol, your R0 will be updated. Now I have given the write back symbol here. Now once I go on loading the data, the pointer has come to, now the pointer has come to this. So R0 is pointing to 0x018. So when I mention a write back symbol for R0, that means now R0 is being updated. And what is the updated value for R0? It is 0x018. So this is the way we have for LDM I, that is the increment after instruction. So if you don't mention write back, R0 value will be 0x010. If you mention a write back, you will be having the updated value which is 0x018. So this is regarding the increment after part. So this is how the increment after works. Now let us go for increment before. Let us go for increment before. So this I'll be writing it as LDMIB, which is increment before. So how exactly here it is working? So let us consider the same example. So as the name says, it is increment before. Now suppose the R0 was pointing at this memory address. So before you load the data, you need to increment the pointer. So first what you will be doing, you will be incrementing the pointer. Now the pointer will be pointing to this location, which is 0x014. And from this memory location, you will be loading the data. So what is the first register data, which is 10? It is loaded. So after that, it is again incremented. Now it is pointing to 0x018. What is the next register data? 20. So this will be loaded here. And then again it is incremented. And then we have 0x01C. So what is the register R3 value? It is 30, which will be loaded. Now since it is an increment before, it again increments here. So now your R0 is pointing, now it is already executed. So your R0 is pointing to 0x01C memory location. So if I write a write back here, you will be having the R0 value as 0x01C. If I don't write the write back symbol, the value of R0 remains as 0x010. So this is how the increment before works. Increment before is nothing but first increment and load. First increment and then load. So this is the LDMIB instruction. Now similarly, we can go ahead with decrement after. Decrement after. So it is nothing but DA. LDM DA R0 comma flower bracket R1 comma R2 comma R3. So how exactly is this working here is, as we have seen for increment, that is increment after and increment before, the first register was, the value of the first register was loaded in the memory. That was, the sequence was R1, R2 and then R3. But when you go with a decrement after, the sequence is from the last to first. So your R3 gets loaded first, then R2 and then comes the R1. So let us say, suppose the R0 is pointing to 0x024. Since I want to decrement the memory locations, so I'll be going on the upward side. So I have, suppose R0, I have pointed it to 0x024. Now what is happening here? This is decrement after. So first you will be loading the data and then you will be decrementing. And how is the sequence of loading? You start with R3, then R2 and then R1. So what is the first data you will be loading here now? It is 30. So once you load the data, you decrement. Can you see from 024? Now next location, now you are decrementing the location. So you are 020 here. Okay, so now you are decremented. Now next value is 20. Again you decrement. Now next value you will be having here is as 10. So this is the way you will be loading the data from the registers in the memory here. So now if you write a write back, your R0 will be pointing to, suppose I mention a write back here, your R0 is now pointing to 0x01C. So this is how your decrement after works. Similarly, we have decrement before. Similarly, we have decrement before. So what happens with a decrement before? Again is the same. It first decrements the pointer and then load the register. Suppose initially R0 is pointing to this memory location. Now since we are using a decrement before, first decrement this and then load the value. So R0 gets decremented, it is pointed to this memory location. Now you'll be loading the value as 30 here. Then again you decrement it. Now you'll be loading the value as 20. You again decrement it. Now you are loading the value as 10 here. So this is how you will be entering the data. And if you have a write back, now the current value of R0 becomes 0x018. So this is how your multiple load store instructions work. So normally we have seen only LDR, LDRB, LDRH. That is only for loading of single register data. If you want to have a loading of multiple register data, we always use this multiple load and store instruction. So same way you can have it for the store multiple instruction. The working remains the same, only instead of loading you are gonna store it. That is what we'll be doing. So next we'll come to the arithmetic instructions. Okay, so coming to the arithmetic instructions, let us start first with the add instruction. So I'll just write the add instruction here. So the opcode is ADD, which stands for addition. Then you are mentioning the register. So this is nothing but the destination. First is the opcode, destination. We have R1 and then we have R2. So this is nothing but operand 1 and this is operand 2. So this is a 3 address field instruction what we have. So we have opcode, destination, and then we have 2 operands, operand 1 and operand 2. So how exactly this instruction performs? Since the name it is add, it is doing the addition. So since R0 is the destination, it adds R1 and R2, and whatever results you're gonna get, it will be loaded in or it will be stored in the R0 register. So this is nothing but in R0 I'll be having the result of addition R1 plus R2. So this is how the add instruction works. So we have many variations for this add instructions. So in this case, since we have not mentioned yes here, none of the status flags will be affected. For example, now this is the addition of two 32-bit numbers, and when you add two 32-bit numbers, maybe you have got a carry. But that carry will not be shown or it will not be affected in the status flag. So if you want to say that carry also should be reflected, we always write it as add yes. Yes, if you write, that means it will affect the status flag so that you can see whether there was carry generated or no. If you don't write, it will not show any carry generation. So this is regarding the add instruction. So in this add instruction, you can also mention the condition. So as I already told you, in ARM, most of the instructions you can work it as a conditional instructions. So for example, we have taken move EQ. So it will move the data only if the condition is equal. So in this case also you can take one example, like I can write it as add EQ yes R0 comma R1 comma R2. So what exactly this instruction does? It adds R1 R2 and stores the result in R0. It will only execute if the previous instruction, suppose there was some previous instruction here. From the previous instruction, suppose the equal means when your Z flag will be set to 1. From previous instruction, if your Z flag was set to 1, that means the condition was equal, then only this instruction will be executed. Suppose the Z flag was 0, it will check whether you had set the Z flag or not. If it is not, this condition is false, and whatever is the next instruction you have written here, this will be executed. So it will skip this and come to the next instruction. Now in this case I have mentioned yes, that means it affects the flag. It checks for the condition and then it will execute this add instruction. So this is regarding the add instruction. And when you are doing addition, the flag which will be affected is the carry flag. The flag which will be affected is the carry flag. So carry will be set to 1 if there is a carry generated. Carry will be 0 if there is no carry generated. So this is regarding the add instructions what we have. Next, we have one more add instruction, which is add with carry. Next instruction is add with carry. So we write it as ADC. We write it as ADC R0, R1, R2. See that you can use all the registers which are available. For simple example, we are just taking R0, R1, R2. You can take the registers from R0 to R12. You can use SP, you can use LR, you can also use PC registers here. So for simplicity, we are using only R0, R1, R2. So you can use R0 to R12 registers which are available in the ARM processor. So what we have the next instruction as ADC. So ADC stands for add with carry. Add with carry. So how exactly this is working? In R0, you will be having the result of addition of R1 plus R2 plus you are gonna add the carry which is generated. So carry flag, if there was a carry, it will be 1. If there was no carry for previously whatever you have done, that means if it is 0, it will add 0 to it. If it was 1, it will add 1 to it. So this is nothing but when you do successive addition, you always need to go on adding the carry part. So you'll be adding the carry. So this is add with carry. So normally add with carry, we use it for two large numbers. When you are adding two large numbers, we always go with add with carry because we need to take the carry forward. Next, this is regarding the add part. Let us go with the subtraction. We have SUB, which stands for subtraction, R0, R1, R2. So again, what is happening here? R0 is a destination. In R0, I'll be having the result of the subtraction of R1 minus R2. So operand 1 is subtracted from the operand 2. So R1 minus R2 is the subtraction which you'll be getting it in the R0 value. So again in the subtraction, you can have one more which is nothing but the fourth one. We have SBC. So what does the SBC stand for? It is nothing but subtract with borrow. Subtract with borrow. So SBC, I can write it as R0, R1, R2. So how exactly this instruction works? In R0, I'll be having R1 minus R2 minus CF bar. Minus CF bar. Now what do you mean by the CF bar is? When you do addition, it is only CF, that is the carry flag. So if you have carry, it is 1, you add. If it is 0, you will be adding it. But when I say instead of carry is nothing but this is the borrow part. So when I say borrow, in ARM processor, we have an inverted borrow. So whatever, if I get the carry flag as 1, the borrow is nothing but CF bar, which is nothing but 0. So when you have carry flag 0, so we have inverted carry flag which you will be having it as 1. So this inverted borrow, we have the provision in the ARM processor. If you see the previous microcontrollers, it was directly the carry flag which was taken, and hence there was the negative numbers. When you subtract, when you used to get negative numbers, it was difficult to understand that. So in this case, when you do this, you'll be subtraction gives you the sign numbers. So you'll be understanding whether it was a positive or a negative numbers. So we have a inverted borrow part. So CF bar is nothing but it is a inverted borrow. And where you see this borrow, it is nothing but the carry flag itself. So your carry flag will be inverted. That's it. So this is going to be subtracted from this. Next, we have one more, which is nothing but reverse subtraction. So what do you mean by reverse subtraction here? So in a reverse subtraction, as you see for the subtraction, you are subtracting R1 minus R2. In reverse subtraction, that is RSB. This is the opcode what we use. RSB, R0 comma R1 comma R2. You will be having it, R0 will be having R2 minus R1. Instead of having operand 1 minus operand 2, you will be having operand 2 minus operand 1. So it is just a reverse subtraction which you will be doing. So this is RSB what we have. This is a reverse subtraction. Similarly, with this we also have reverse subtraction with borrow. So we have RSB. Sorry, RSC. RSC. This is nothing but reverse subtraction with carry. So this is nothing but again the same syntax, R0 comma R2 comma R1 comma R2. So how exactly this is working? Same like your SBC. In this case, instead of R1 minus R2, you'll be using R2 minus, this is R2 minus R1 minus CF bar. This is the change what we have, R2 minus R1. So this is regarding the reverse subtraction. This is reverse subtraction with carry. This is subtraction with carry. This is only subtraction. This is add with carry. So these are the arithmetic instruction: add, subtract and reverse subtraction. Next, let us go with the instruction of multiplication. So one more thing you can also mention here is with any of these instructions. Suppose if I take RSC, I can also mention it as RSCQS. I can write it at like this, R0, R1, comma R2. So you can understand what is this. This is reverse subtraction with carry. Check the condition and affect the status flag. So you can have this type of instructions with giving condition as well as the status flag. Next, let us go with the multiply instruction. Now in multiplication instructions, we have two variations. One is I can multiply two 32-bit numbers. If I multiply two 32-bit numbers, I may get a result of 32-bit itself, or when I am multiplying two 32-bit larger numbers, I may get the result as 64-bit. So based on the result what you will be getting, either you may get the result as 32-bit or you may get the result as 64-bit. And since we know all the registers are 32-bit registers, so 64-bit result may not be accumulated in a single register. For example, let me take the simple multiplication instructions where you get the result as 32-bit. So these are the instruction where you multiply two 32-bit numbers and you get the result as 32-bit. So the first instruction, which is nothing but MUL, which stands for multiplication. You have R0, comma R1, comma R2. So MUL is a opcode. R0 is the destination and operand 1 is R1 and operand 2 is R2. So you will be having this as R0. In R0 you will be having the result of R1 multiplied by R2. Now you can see here, since R0 is a 32-bit, when you are multiplying the result, that is R1 and R2, suppose R2 is having a 32-bit number, R1 is having 32-bit number. If you multiply this, R0 can accumulate only 32-bit result. So these instructions are only when you know that the result is a 32-bit itself. So you will be using this instruction. So after you use MUL, there is one more instruction called MLA. MLA. So what does this MLA stands for? The MLA stands for multiply and accumulate. So we write it as R0, comma, R1, comma, R2. So in this R2, comma, this is R3. So how exactly this multiply and accumulate instruction work here is, we have, since R0 is a destination, the result is stored in R0. It multiplies R1 with R2 and it accumulates the value of R3. So multiply R1, R2 and add the value of R3. So this is important when you are doing some continuous successive multiplication. So one product you have got, so next time you need to again add that product to the previous result. So this is when you have to do the successive multiplication or the larger multiplication numbers. When you use, you'll be doing with this. So this is nothing but in R0, R1, R2 is multiplied plus the value of R3 will be added to this. So this is multiply and accumulate. So basically MLA we use it for a factorial program. So if you know the factorial, if I want to find the factorial of 5, you write it as 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So what you do is 5 multiplied by 4. So it is 20. So this 20 is next multiplied by 3 and so on. So when you are doing this, you want to accumulate it. So we always go with this MLA instruction. So this is how we work with MLA. So next we have one more instruction which is MLS. So MLS stands for multiply and subtract. So again we have this as R0, R1, comma, R2, comma, R3. So what exactly we are doing here is, R0 is a destination register where you will be having the result of R1 multiplied by R2 minus R3. So here you accumulate. What do you mean by accumulate? You added it. You add the value. Here you will be subtracting the value. So you have R1 into R2 minus R3. So this is regarding the MLS instruction. So these three instructions can be used when you are working with multiplication of two 32-bit numbers and the result is a 32-bit numbers. In case if you are multiplying two 32-bit numbers and the result is coming to 64-bit, we are going to use the instruction called long multiply instructions. Long multiply instruction. Now this long multiply instructions are only for when you multiply 32-bit into 32-bit and when you get a 64-bit of result. So for long multiply, the first instruction which you can use here is, which is UMULL. UMULL, where U stands for unsigned. U stands for unsigned and MULL is nothing but your multiplication. So this again is nothing but R0, comma, R1, comma, R2, comma, R3. Now exactly this instruction is working. Since we have the result which you get is 64-bit, you cannot store that result in a single register. So what you can do here is, you need to use two registers to store the data, to store the result. So how exactly this is working now? R0, R1 becomes the destination now and you will be multiplying R2 and R3. Now the question arises, how exactly the result is stored? MSB and LSB. So if you see here, R1 will be having the MSB of the result, that is the 32-bit here, the MSB part, and R0 will be having the LSB of the 32-bit result. So this is how you will be having the result stored, R1 MSB, R0 as LSB, and this is nothing but multiplication of R2 and R3. This is the unsigned multiplication. So long multiplication can be done by this instruction. Similarly, we have one more which is SMULL. SMULL, where the S stands for signed numbers. This is the multiplication instruction used for signed numbers. Again, the working remains the same. You have R0, R1, R2, R3. So here R1 will be having the MSB of the result, R0 will be having the LSB of the result, and you will be multiplying R2 and R3. So only this is for the signed numbers, this is for the unsigned numbers. So this is UMUL and SMUL. Similarly, we also have long multiplication with accumulate. As we have seen for multiply and accumulate, same we have for long multiplication also. So we have the next instruction as UMLAL. So U, as I told you, it is U is for unsigned, M is for multiply, A is for accumulate, and L is for long. So here we have this syntax as R0, R1, R2 and R3. So what is happening here? R1, R0 are the destination registers, where you will be having in R1 the MSB result and R0 will be having the LSB result, and then you are multiplying R2 with R3 plus you are accumulating the previous value which is there in this two registers, that is R1 and R0. So you have multiplied, you had got the previous result in R1, R0. So next time when you do again multiplication, you just accumulate that. You add that value to the next multiplication. So this is how you will be doing for unsigned, multiply and accumulate long. Similarly, we also have it for signed, multiply and accumulate long. So in this case, how you will be writing the instruction is as yes, M, L, A, L, R0, R1, R2, R3. So again the working remains the same. R1, R0 is the destination. In this we will be storing R2 into R3 accumulated with the value of R1, R0. So this is only for signed numbers, this is for the unsigned numbers. So this is how the long multiply instructions work. So we have seen all the multiplication instructions for 32-bit result as well as when you get a 64-bit or the long multiplication when you do it. So this completes the arithmetic instructions. Now let us go with logical instructions. So when we talk about logical instructions, the logical instructions are bit level instructions. So already you know some of the logical devices or the logical instructions which are available. We have AND, okay, then we have OR, so we have OR, and then we have XOR. So these are some of the logical instructions which are there. So as already you know what is the AND doing. So AND truth table you know. So it is nothing but if it has 0, 0, it is 0, 0, 1 is 0, 1, 0 is 0, and 1, 1 it is 1. This is the truth table for AND. If you go with OR, this is 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, sorry, 0, 1 is 1, 1, 0 is 1, 1, 1 is 0. Okay, so this is what we have for OR, and then we have for XOR. The same truth table as already you have studied in the logic design. Now how to write this instruction in ARM processor? So we will be writing this as AND, then we will be having R0, R1, R2. So AND is opcode R0 is the destination, and this is operand 1 and this is operand 2. So how exactly this instruction is working? In R0, you will be having the result of R1 ANDed with R2. So you will be having R1 ANDed with R2. This is the AND operation. So you can take a simple example, take some value in R1, take some value in R2, AND it and get whatever result, and you can store it in R0. Now the thing here is, when do you use this AND instruction? So if you go with programming, the AND operation is normally used when you want to make any bit, particular bit as 0. For example, I'll just give an example here. Suppose R1 is 1 1 1 1 1 0 1 1 and R2, suppose I want to make this bit as 0. If I want to make this bit as 0, I just want to change the value, I want to change the bit. So what I'll be doing is, I'll be ANDing this R1 with R2. So what should be the value of R2 so that I'll be getting this bit as 0 without altering the other bits. So what you'll be having? 1 1 1 1. I want to make this bit as 0. So what I should do? I have to AND it with 0. This will be as it is 1 1 and 1. So what you get is 1 1 here. This is 0. This becomes 1 into 1 ANDed with 0 is 0. This is 1 1 1 and 1. So can you see the change only is this bit 1 was now changed to 0. So in any operation or in any programming, if they want to have, so normally if you want to make any bit 0, we go with the AND operation. Similarly, we have a OR operation. So again in OR, we write it as ORR as a opcode, R0 as a destination, R1 as operand 1 and R2 as operand 2. So this is nothing but, in R0 you'll be having the R1 ORed with R2. So you'll be ORing it with R2 and you'll be getting it in R0. So now question comes, where can you use this OR operation? So as per the truth table, when you see, if you want to make any bit, suppose the bit was initially 0, I want to make that bit as 1, I can use the OR operation. So same as we have used AND to make the bit as 0, this is used to make a particular bit 0. Similarly, you can use OR to make a particular bit as 1. So you need to find what should be the other value, so that when you OR it with that value, you should get that bit as 1. So this is for the OR operation. Similarly, next we have XOR. XOR is again, this is the EOR is the opcode, R0 destination, R1 operand 1 and R2 operand 2. So this is performing the XOR operation. So R1 XORed with R2. So this is the XOR operation what we have. Now XOR normally we use when you want to do some complement. So if you want to complement any bit or a particular value, you always use the XOR operation. So why I am telling all this advantage here is, whenever you go with any programming, whenever they give any problem definition, if you want to make the bit, only that bit has to be changed, one single value has to be changed, you can go with AND, you can go with OR. If you want to do complement, instead of going with any complement instruction, you can go with an XOR, where you can complement a particular bit. So this can be done with XOR part. So this is AND, OR and XOR. There is one more instruction what we have, which is BIC. It is BIC. BIC is the opcode, which is nothing but bit clear. The meaning here is bit clear. So you can make a particular bit clear is nothing but making that bit as 0. So you can write it as BIC R0, R1, R2. So you can make a particular bit as clear by using this instruction. So how exactly this instruction is working here is, this is same like your AND operation, but there is one change what we have here is, in R0 you will be getting the result of R1 ANDed with R2 bar. You'll be getting the result of AND R1 ANDed with R2, R1 ANDed with R2 bar. So this is how your bit clear instruction works. Same like AND. In AND you used to do R1 AND with R2. Instead of that you'll be doing R1 AND with R2 bar. So this has been negated here, or it is this. So basically this we go with when you want to do some masking operation. Some bits when I want to mask it, I can go with a bit clear instructions. So this is BIC. Next we have, next instruction is compare instruction, CMP. Compare, we write it as R0, R1. So CMP is the opcode, and these are nothing but the operands of which we need to do the comparison. Now when I am comparing any two registers, basically what operation we perform here is, you are nothing but you are doing R0 minus R1, subtracting R0 with R1. So when you do this operation, when you call the compare instruction, R0 minus R1 you'll be doing. So you'll be having three things which will be coming out from this. One is, if R1, you'll come to know if the first number is higher or greater, okay, higher, or you can find it as a greater, or you can find if the first number is lower, or you can say lesser, or you can also say that if your first number is equal to the second number. This can be the three comparisons which you can do. Now how to check if the first number was greater, or it is less, or it is equal? So for that you need to look into the status flags. So if I say the first number is greater and I am subtracting the greater number from a smaller number, I always get a positive result. So in that case I can say the negative flag is 0, because I am getting a positive value from that. The n is 0, that is the negative, you are getting a positive. If the number is lower, what do you mean by number is lower? If R0, when I subtract the lower number, when I subtract it from a higher number, always I get a negative number. So in this case your n becomes 1. The negative flag will be set to 1. Next, last is, if both are equal, the result comes as a 0. So when the result comes as a 0, you will be checking for the 0 flag, which will be set as 1. So when you are comparing two registers, these are the three things, and these are the flags which you need to check when you are doing this comparison. So this is regarding the compare instruction. There is one more instruction with the compare, which we call it as the CMN, which is nothing but CMN. This is the compare instruction itself, but this N stands for negate. This N stands for a negate. So how exactly this instruction is working? It is nothing but we are doing R0 minus the second register. So I'll write it here, R0, R1. The second register is negated. So you have R0 minus of R1. You have R0 minus of R1. So this is as good as R0 plus R1. This is as good as R0 plus R1. So this is your compare negate instruction. So this is what we have for the logical instruction. There are few more instructions which will be continuing in the next class.